Song of the Dolphin Boy, Chapter 13. Back in Stromhead, the children tumbled out of Professor Jameson's tidy little car and Mr. McPhee's ramshackle van, and went to perch on the harbour wall. Finn couldn't bear to sit alongside the others. He stood in front of them, hopping from one foot to the other, too upset to keep still. "It's no good," said Jazz bitterly. "They've won." "They can't win. They mustn't," burst out Finn. "I told you what they were like, didn't I?" said Kyla. Charlie was sitting awkwardly with his arms crossed over his chest. "What's that poking out of your T-shirt?" Amir asked him. Charlie blushed. "Nothing." "It's not nothing, it's paper, rolled up. Go on, what is it?" He leaned over and tried to prise Charlie's arms off his chest. "Leave me alone," panted Charlie. "I told you it's nothing." But Jazz had recognised a corner of the paper that Charlie was trying to hide. "It's the supermarket poster, isn't it?" she said accusingly, "of Tom Henderson and the balloons." Charlie gave up trying to hide it. Reluctantly, he pulled it from under his T-shirt and let it unroll. "So what, anyway?" he blustered. "It's a great picture of him. I'm going to cut around the bit with him in it and get rid of all the balloons and stick it up in my bedroom." "Traitor," muttered Amir, but he was looking enviously at the poster. Everyone glanced nervously at Finn, expecting him to explode in anger. But he was staring at the poster of Tom Henderson, frowning with concentration. "What's he like?" he asked Charlie. "Who?" "Tom Henderson." "He's the best." Charlie looked relieved. "That goal against Rangers last season, and the one in the Scottish FA Cup semi-final 2 years ago was—" began Amir. "Shut up about goals and stuff," said Finn. "What's he like?" He's just great," said Charlie. Finn bounced impatiently on the balls of his feet. "I think I can see what Finn's getting at," said Jazz. "If he's a nice person, I mean, if he cares about anything at all, except for stupid football," said Finn. "Stupid? You think football's stupid?" said Charlie hotly. Finn ignored him. "Like I said, if he cares about anything important, he might refuse to do it. Release the balloons, I mean. If we could just get hold of him somehow, persuade him—" "Oh, we could never do that." Amir was shaking his head. "Top footballers like him, they have guards and minders and stuff." "How's he getting to Rothymuir anyway?" Finn said urgently. "He'll have a smashing car, you bet," said Charlie. "A stretch limo with all white leather seats and a TV. You think we might be able to stop his car when he's on the way here? Is that it, Finn?" asked Jazz. Finn nodded unhappily. "I was thinking that, but it's crazy, I know. I've got no idea how we'd do it, but it could be our only chance." "We don't even know what his car looks like," objected Kyla. Amir had been fiddling with his phone. He gave a triumphant "yes" and held it out to the others to see. "Ferrari," he said. "He's got 3 cars, but it says here that this one's his favourite. The picture even shows the number plate, TH1. "I don't see how it helps," said Kyla. "How are we going to stop him while he's driving along a main road? There'll be loads of other traffic, and he'll be going really fast in a car like that. It'll be much too dangerous to try and stop him." "Hey, I don't believe it," said Amir, who was still staring at his phone. "What?" Finn was dancing with impatience. "Is it good? What does it say?" "Wait till you hear this," Amir said triumphantly. "Tell us," pleaded Finn. "He won't be coming by the main road," said Amir. "This website's got all sorts of stuff about him. You won't believe this, but his granny lives in Tamsy Bay." "Tamsy Bay? That's where my Uncle Jimmy lives," said Charlie. "He's got a flat right down near the beach." Finn was thinking furiously. The road from Tamsey Bay to Rothymuir's really small and winding, and it runs right past my house. There's never any cars on it. I bet he'll be staying with his granny tonight. You can't be sure, though, said Dougie, concerned. He might not like his granny. I don't like mine. She's always tried to kiss me. Everyone ignored him. Of course he'll be staying with her, said Finn, slapping his forehead. Think about it. Why would he come all this way to open a silly supermarket in a little town like Rothymuir? It can only be to please his granny. The ceremony's at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. To get here from anywhere else, by plane or something, he'd have to leave really early in the morning. I wouldn't open that supermarket, even for my granny, said Kyla. I'd just throw a pot of paint at it, if they asked me. Yeah, but no one's going to ask you, silly, said Charlie. Finn's right, said Jazz. It's the only thing that makes sense. The question is, how do we get to him and persuade him not to release the balloons? Interrupted Finn. I bet his granny's got a cat, said Dougie, flailing his padlock around on its chain as if he wanted to hit something. Mine's got 3. We could kidnap her cat and say we won't give it back unless he promises not to release the balloons. Jazz rolled her eyes. Firstly, she said, ticking the points off on her fingers, we don't even know where his granny lives. Never mind if she actually has a cat. Secondly, if she did have one, she'd be really, really upset if it got kidnapped. Thirdly, it's cruelty to animals. I was just saying, said Doug, offended. Finn was still thinking hard. You are right, Jazz. We don't know where Tom Henderson's granny lives. And even if we did, it's 8 miles to Tamsey Bay. We haven't got time to get there. Anyway, his minders would never let us near him. So that means... It means we'll have to stop his car on the road somehow, Jazz finished for him. That's right, said Finn. But how? Everyone thought. We could scatter nails on the road and he'd get punctures and have to stop to fix them, said Charlie. That's criminal damage or something, isn't it? Said Amir. And anyway, punctures can take ages. He might be miles further down the road before he even notices. I would lie down in the middle of the road if that's what it would take to stop him, said Finn passionately. But he'd run over you, said Kyla. Oh, please don't, Finn. That's so dangerous. I wouldn't care. It wouldn't help the dolphins if you were dead, Amir said reasonably. I could make another poster, said Kyla, and hold it up. He'll be in a Ferrari, Charlie's voice was withering. He'd be past us in a flash. A poster would just be a blur. No, but it's a good idea, said Finn eagerly. Only we'd need not just one poster, but lots spread out, so that he'll have time to take them in. There's loads of bends on the road up to my house. He'll have to slow down. We could paint something on the road, said Amir, catching his enthusiasm. Something like, Tom Henderson, please stop and save the dolphins. That won't make any sense to him, said Jazz. We've got to make him want to stop, make him curious. Like, please stop because we've got something to tell you, suggested Dougie. He'll think we're just fans wanting autographs, said Charlie. Mind you, I wouldn't mind asking for one if we do get to meet him. We can have a series of messages, one on each bend, said Finn. The first one goes, Tom Henderson, we have something very important to tell you. The second one, on the next bend, says, please stop, this won't take a minute. The third one goes, lives are at stake. The fourth one says, we're not just football fans wanting your autograph. That's no good, said Amir. He'll be insulted if we say we don't want his autograph. All right, leave that one out, said Finn. Kyla was looking worried. I haven't got time to draw all those posters, she said. You won't have to, said Jazz. We don't need pictures, just words in very big letters. Hey, Dougie, here comes your mum. She's looking a bit upset. It's past 1 already. We'd better go. But come to the lantern room as soon as you can this afternoon. Kyla, Amir, Charlie and Dougie jumped off the harbour wall and ran off home, leaving only Jazz and Finn, who was standing by himself, looking out to sea. Jazz went up to him. Finn heard her coming, but didn't turn round. "It's the best we can do, Finn," said Jazz. "It might work." "I keep thinking about them, out there," Finn said hoarsely, "all tangled up and eating rubbish and getting sick and starving. If those balloons go up, Jazz, I'm going to go back out to sea and gather up as many of them as I can myself." 5,000 balloons, said Jazz. "You can't, Finn. They'll be all spread out over miles and miles." I know. I just feel so sad for them and sort of responsible in a way. Those dolphins, I've only met them a couple of times, but they're my friends." "You've got other friends now, in case you hadn't noticed," said Jazz in a small voice. He turned to look at her, and for a moment neither of them spoke. "Can you remember your mum, Jazz?" Finn said eventually. She looked at him startled. "You lost your mum too," she said. I didn't think." "Yes, but do you remember her?" She shook her head. "Only a bit. Not much. Anyway, she was soft and warm, and she told me stories, only I can't remember any of them. I can still just about feel what it was like being cuddled up to her while she talked." "I don't remember anything at all," said Finn. "Only a feeling of being lost after she'd gone." His face looked set and stony. She touched his arm. "Loads of people lose their mums, Finn. We've got our dads, haven't we?" She stopped and bit her lip as a picture of Finn's father came to mind, with his shaggy hair and dirty clothes and angry voice. But to her surprise, Finn brightened. "Yes, I've got my dad, and he's okay. At least, I think he is. I think he might be changing, Jazz. You'll see."